In 2024, Tom Selleck was still standing where he had always stood, at the center of one of television's most successful dramas. A man millions of viewers trusted without question. A face that felt permanent, uncheckable, familiar like time itself. And then, something strange happened. Without warning, without farewell, without a public explanation that made sense, the world kept moving. The show kept going. But something essential was gone. And now at 81 years old, Tom Selleck is no longer just a television icon. He is a man living in the quiet aftermath of a career that never truly stopped demanding more from him than the human body was designed to give. But here's the question nobody is really asking out loud. What does it actually cost to be a steady man for 50 years straight? And more importantly, what happens when the cameras stop respecting that image? Because the truth behind Tom Selleck's life isn't just about fame. It's about everything he lost while never allowing the world to see him. Break. Tom Selleck is one of the most recognizable actors in American television history. To audiences, he was never just an actor. He was a symbol. The mustache, the calm voice, the controlled presence. The kind of man Hollywood rarely produces anymore. From Magnum P.I. to Blue Bloods, he didn't just play characters. He became a definition of reliability in a world that rarely feels stable. But what most people never understood is that his real story was never about fame. It was about endurance. And endurance always comes with a price. Before the fame, before the mustache became iconic, Tom Selleck's life was not pointing toward Hollywood certainty. He was an athlete first, a tall, disciplined young man who believed his future belonged on a basketball court, not in front of a camera. He earned a scholarship. He entered college with the mindset of a competitor, not a performer. But reality does not care about identity. At the University of Southern California, he played only a handful of games. And in those games, something became clear very quickly. He was not going to become a professional athlete. For most people, that moment would have been a collapse. For him, it was a pivot, because Tom Selleck did not stop moving forward. He simply redirected discipline into something else. Acting wasn't a dream at first. It was an alternative door, a suggestion, a possibility discovered in the space left behind by failure. Small roles came first: commercials, guest appearances, minor parts in shows where nobody remembered his name the next day. But something was developing underneath it all. A presence, not loud, not dramatic, controlled. The kind of presence that doesn't ask for attention, but receives it anyway. And slowly, Hollywood started to notice. Not because he demanded the spotlight, but because he didn't need it. Then came Magnum P.I. And everything changed instantly. Not gradually, not carefully. Instantly. One moment, he was another working actor trying to stay visible. The next moment, he was everywhere. A cultural phenomenon doesn't ask permission. It takes over. Magnum P.I. made Tom Selleck into something America hadn't seen in years. A male lead who wasn't aggressive, wasn't exaggerated, wasn't trying to dominate the screen. He simply existed in it, and audiences loved him for it. 60 million viewers. Global recognition. Magazine covers. The Ferrari. The island aesthetic. The character that felt like escape and stability at the same time. But here's what nobody talks about. Success like that doesn't expand your life. It compresses it. Because suddenly, every decision is no longer yours alone. Every hour belongs to production. Every relationship becomes negotiation. Every moment becomes public property. And Tom Selleck, the private man behind the character, started to disappear into the version of himself the world expected. Not loudly. Quietly. The most dangerous kind of disappearance. While Magnum P.I. was turning him into a global icon. Something else was breaking in parallel: his personal life. His first marriage began under normal circumstances. No fame, no pressure. Just two people trying to build something in the middle of uncertainty. But fame changes gravity, it changes time, it changes intimacy into scheduling. And over time, the relationship that once felt grounded started to fracture under the weight of a life that never stopped moving. By the early 1980s, the marriage ended. Publicly simple, privately heavy. But that wasn't the only loss. There were roles he never got to play. James Bond was nearly his. Indiana Jones slipped through due to contractual timing. These weren't just missed opportunities. They were alternate versions of his life that existed just close enough to feel real, but never close enough to touch. And that creates a specific kind of psychological weight. Not regret, something quieter. Awareness. Awareness that your life could have gone another direction, and you will never know what that version of you became. Meanwhile, behind the fame, he wasn't just becoming more successful. He was becoming more responsible for everything that came with success. Expectations. Schedules. A character the world refused to let him evolve out of. Magnum wasn't just a role anymore. It was an identity people demanded he maintain. And identities that are frozen in time eventually become cages. Hollywood rarely speaks honestly about contract power, but Tom Selleck lived inside it. During Magnum P.I., he became so central to the show's success that walking away was never realistically an option. Even when other opportunities appeared, even when larger roles came calling, the system around him made sure he stayed exactly where he was. Controlled success is still control, and control has a price. Years later, one of the most discussed turning points of his career came not from something he did, but from something he couldn't do. He was tied to obligations that prevented him from accepting what became one of the most iconic roles in film history. Another actor stepped in, and cinema history took a different shape. Tom Selleck didn't fight it publicly. He didn't create controversy. He simply continued forward, because that is what his entire career had trained him to. Do not keep moving, even when something inside you stays behind. Fast forward decades. Blue Bloods becomes his second defining legacy. Not youth, not explosive fame, but maturity. Authority. The quiet strength of a man who no longer needs to prove anything. For 14 seasons, he becomes Frank Reagan, a symbol of order in a chaotic world. But time does not negotiate with symbols. It observes them. And eventually, it changes them. By the later seasons, something is visible to anyone paying close attention: the physical cost of decades of work, action sequences, long filming schedules, years of carrying roles that required stillness but demanded endurance. Arthritis begins to reshape how movement works. Simple actions require planning. Comfort becomes conditional. There are reports of adjustments on set, assistance for physical transitions that once required no thought at all. But here is what makes Tom Selleck different from the image Hollywood prefers to sell. He didn't turn aging into performance. He didn't turn pain into narrative. He simply continued working. Then came another shift. The end of Blue Bloods, and not just the end of a show, but the end of a world he helped build for over a decade. A continuation was planned. New direction was announced, but he was not included. No dramatic farewell. No final center seat. Just absence. And at 80+ years old, after decades of being the anchor of stability on screen, he was suddenly no longer part of the system he helped stabilize. And he said very little, because men like him were not built to explain absence. They were built to accept it. Today, Tom Selleck lives differently. Not in retirement fantasy. Not in Hollywood nostalgia. But on land. Real land. Where mornings arrive without scripts. Where work is physical. Not symbolic. Where fences break and must be repaired. Where trees grow at their own pace. Not production schedules. This is not an escape. It is continuity. Because the same principle that defined his entire life still exists here. Show up. Do the work. Don't announce it. Don't turn it into a story while you're living it. Just continue. At 81. The world looks at Tom Selleck and sees a legend. But legends are what? Audiences create. The reality is simpler. He is a man who outlasted every version of himself the world tried to freeze. The athlete who didn't make it. The actor who became famous too fast. The husband who lost privacy to visibility. The icon who watched roles pass him by. The veteran of television who was eventually left outside the door of his own legacy. And still, he didn't stop. Because for him, the real story was never fame. It was endurance. And endurance is not loud, doesn't announce itself. It just keeps going. Long after the applause has ended. If there is a lesson in Tom Selleck's life at 81, it isn't that success protects you from loss. It's that success simply makes loss more visible. And what remains after everything else fades is not the fame, not the roles, not the recognition, but the quiet discipline of still showing up when nobody is asking you to anymore. And maybe that's the part worth remembering most, because in the end, the camera stops rolling, the audience moves on, but the life continues. And some men never stop living it with the same quiet seriousness they began with.